No, you're fine. If you stay there, you're fine. I'll reset it. All right, there we go. We are live. Let me chat. If you see us, give me a little thumbs up there in the chat. That would be mucho apreciado. And I'm going to drop this link in a variety of places. So we are good to go. But it is live before lock, NFL style Sunday night. First off, we had a little bit of a sweat there with one Ben Rasa getting second in the Millionaire Maker on DraftKings. He ended up sweating it out with Randall Cobb coming up close to him. So that was brought him within a half point the next team behind him, but he hung on for $100,000. So shout out to him. Shout out to SuperDraft. That's superdraft.io, the newest place you can play DFS sports. No more pesky salary caps. As long as you meet the position requirements, you can play any player you want. They all have multipliers. So someone who is fancy, say, like Christian McCaffrey, may have a 1.0 multiplier, but then someone that needs a little help, perhaps like an Allen Hurns, might have a 1.9 multiplier. Which player would you prefer to use? That's your decision point. So it's a lot of fun there. Eric, how are you doing? And more importantly, where were you today? You missed the injury show.
I missed the inactives report. I missed you guys this morning. I was actually at Soldier Field for the Bears, taking down the New York Giants today. Hey, we'll take the win when we can get them. We'll take them however we can get them. This is the NFL. Nothing's pretty for the Bears ever. I was very close to leaving at halftime just because it's tough to watch at times, that team. But stomached through it. Shout out to my Bears for bringing home the W today. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Feel free to drop in your questions, comments as we get through things today. We'll try to get to any of those as we can. Emac, how you feeling? We got a big game tonight, NFC Showdown.
We do.
Two teams that both have big playoff aspirations and hopes to make a run throughout the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers going into San Francisco to take on the 49ers.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I'm just going to drop this into our chat channel. Live before lock NFL, and we are good. So it's a fun one tonight. We got a couple of NFC powers here. We have the 49ers. I believe they've only lost 2 games thus far. Guess who has also only lost 2 games? That would be the Seattle Seahawks, who, by the way, did beat the 49ers. They went in and stomped one Dave Laffy D. Loughran's Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia today. Hat tip to them. We'll have to see what's going on with Chris Carson and Rashad Penny. We could have a split backfield, much like we have a pair of split backfields tonight. We have some inactive news. We know that George Kittle is back after missing 2 weeks, so that makes Ross Dwelley, he of 2 touchdowns last weekend, irrelevant. That also, we have Emmanuel Sanders is active, as is Deebo Samuels. So that was all of the news that we were waiting on. Now, the hard part. What is going to happen in this game? We have 2 pretty good defenses going against each other. Well, the 49ers are one of the best defenses in the league. The Green Bay, no slouches against the pass. One of the best adjusted sack rates, one of the better, not the best, better coverage rates, but they are going against Jimmy Garoppolo and some dinged up receiving options. So that kind of is even out. The only little wrinkle where I want to try to attack one of these defenses ends up being with the running backs for the 49ers, who have Matt Breida out. But that was expected against Green Bay. But do we go with Tevin Coleman, who's only going to play about half the snaps? Do we take the savings with Raheem Mostert? We'll have to see. I'm down my Huckleberry, the honey hole where I thought I was going to win all my money back. I'm down. I'm now 1-2 against the $2 schlub. No names used in this one, but I've lost 2 in a row. One more, and that makes a losing streak.
That's right. For those of you that haven't been tuning in every week, first of all, shame on you. But Emac and I have started a head-to-head, just a little friendly contest, couple bucks a night, putting in our top lineups to see who fares the best. And as he mentioned, yes, I'm starting to heat up, as they might say in the old NBA Jam. 2 in a row, 3 in a row. Yes, I'd be on fire. I'm excited for tonight's matchup. It's going to be a great game. I always love NFC showdowns, just being an NFC fan. So looking forward to it. But, yeah, there's a lot I think with the injuries and everybody being active tonight, it made things really interesting on my end. As I was kind of looking at lineups and who to play. It's hard to figure out who you want to place your money behind. So as we get down to, we'll break it down. Hey, team by team, position by position. We'll dive deep into it tonight. Emac, who do you want to start with? You want to start off with the visiting Green Bay Packers tonight?
Let's start off with the visiting Green Bay Packers. For those of you, I just got word here. I'm just double checking. I believe if you're playing hockey, gosh, I have so many lineups. It's taking forever for my lineup page to open. But I believe Ryan Nugent Hopkins is out. So you will want to Nugent Hopkins. You will want to adjust your lineups for that. But I'm just trying to verify that. In any event, they are the visitors, but it almost feels like they're a home team because, wait for it, if you're not aware, Mr. Rogers, no, not that Mr. Rogers, Mr. Aaron Rodgers actually was born in the Bay Area and grew up in nearby and went to Cal, which is also in the Bay Area. So he is going to have some friends and family in the crowd. Another guy on their team also born in the Bay Area, Palo Alto, actually, that would be Devontae Adams, who played for Fresno State University. So do we have a homecoming of sorts? I think this is just the third time that Rodgers has made his way back to San Francisco as a player.
Indeed, yeah. It's always interesting to see, any player come back to their hometown. You can always imagine what that would be like, the emotions and the excitement behind that. Saw a pretty cool special this morning, him talking about how guys like Joe Montana and Steve Young, the 49ers of the late 80s and the early 90s really played a large impact in his life, watching them win Super Bowls and really just tear apart the opposing team. It inspired him, and he always wanted to have that success. Now, he's gotten his Super Bowl, but it's been a while since they've been back. Now, this defense this year, they've invested in it. They've been playing better. They've been a more well-rounded team, bringing in the new coach to kind of spice things up. So Green Bay fans are certainly excited. I know tonight will be a big test to see how they do on the road against another top team in the NFC. But yeah, it should be exciting. I think Rodgers is it's hard not to get behind him. Like, how do you not include him in your lineup tonight? Is there any lineup that you don't have Rodgers in tonight?
It's going to be very few. I haven't done my crunches yet, but this is one of the spots where I'm willing to attack because of Rodgers' talent, and I'm also willing to do it basically with Devontae Adams. Outside of that, I really am not interested in anybody else in the among the receivers for Green Bay. So let me see. Since Devontae Adams came back 2 weeks ago, he's had 22 targets. MVS, so Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Gmo, Geronimo Allison, Alan Lazard, and Jake Kumaro have 21 targets in those 2 games combined.
Yep.
Yikes. Sorry, they have 20. Yeah, they have 22. He has 21. So point being, MVS really not getting any work. Lazard's been the guy, but he's kind of a possession receiver. And then Jimmy Graham's the other guy that gets 4 or 5 targets a game. So it's Devontae Adams or bust. So if you're going to be spending tonight, and if you utilize Raheem Mostert and one of the kickers, you most definitely can get up to those other players. I am going that particular route this evening.
Shedding a little light into your plan tonight. Yeah, it's there's a lot of options on both teams. A lot of times we do these showdowns, and it's pretty cut and dry. Like who, there's a bell cow running back. There's a clear number 1 wide receiver that's getting all of the targets. That's not really the case tonight. Besides, Adams. I think Adams is obviously the play there. If you aren't playing if we're going to talk in the wide receiver position, Green Bay, it starts with Adams. Who's that number 2 tonight, Emac? Who's that? If you're say you're putting Rodgers in a captain spot and you're playing Adams, do you want 2 wide receivers? Do you want to split it with one of those running backs? Who would be your second wide receiver besides Adams on the Green Bay side?
It as actually players not at the wide receiver position. For me, it would be Jamal Williams for the discount. Yes, Aaron Jones is more talented, but we have to deal with the salary cap. So it would be Jamal Williams. And then, yep, old man Jimmy Graham is going to be my other guy. That's how little at this point I think of well, that's how tough I think the matchup is, and I believe that Rodgers is probably going to lock on to Adams. We know that Richard Sherman's generally, I forget if it's he'll play. I think he plays the right side of as you're facing it. He plays the right side of the field, I believe. So they can move Adams around, so he's not going to be facing him. Not that Richard Sherman's what he once was when he was with the Seahawks. But some people will probably ask that question. But he doesn't generally shadow at all. He usually plays aside. So I'm not really concerned about that. Yeah, the defense knows it's coming, but Devontae Adams is just really that good. This feels like a game where it could be 21-17, or maybe that's too many touchdowns, 20-17, 23-17, 23-20, etc. So I think we might see a few field goals in this one. But because I'm taking that approach, I want to go with the players I think have the best chance to get touchdowns. The one guy not particularly in my plans is Aaron Jones. Now that's main lineup core that I'm talking. He'll be in when I build out my multi lineups. But I'm not chasing after Aaron Jones. He's that expensive. And the 49ers are that good. They're basically the best defense in the league against the run, right there with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it's hard to you look at this 49ers defense, and I mean, fantasy point wise, they've been fantastic, but it's just like there's not any weaknesses. There's no spot that you can look at it and go, oh yeah, we can really attack this part of the defense. They don't have any, so their ability to put pressure on the QB for me lends to Green Bay wanting to establish the run. So that's kind of where I'm going with what I feel like the game plan could go with, but who knows? So you don't feel great about their wide receivers. The running back wise, it's the split. In your article on awesemo.com, if you guys haven't had a chance to take a look at it, do check it out. EMAC does a great breakdown of these showdown slates every week. It's almost a 50-50 split. Was it 55-45 between Jones and Williams last?
That's pretty much the way it's worked out for the last couple of weeks when they've both been fully healthy.
Which is the case tonight.
Yep, exactly.
So you're not loving Jones because of his cost. And Green Bay uses both those guys in the passing game as well. We've seen both of them score and be leveraged from that perspective. And these showdown slates too, it's risky because hey, one guy can get dinged up, and that's why injuries are always such a factor to you really got to take into an account are the injuries. So Green Bay relatively healthy, San Francisco healthy, people coming back, so a lot of things to consider there. Mentioned Jimmy Graham. Is Graham is Graham someone you're including kind of here and there? You mentioned he's probably someone you prefer more than
yeah. So I'm telling the crunch that I want two guys with Rodgers, and it's going to be the receivers, the tight ends, and the running backs. So I'm going to influence it. So Graham is one. I'd like it to be Graham, Adams, Jones, Williams cycled through. To do that, I'm going to have some of the discount there for Lazard or MVS, etc. I'm just planning on them not getting many points. So it's more of what is the greater overall total going to be, and yeah, there probably will be some zeros in my lineups, and we've seen people win with zeros in their lineups. So you don't want to do that, but it happens.
It happens, but you got to hit with the others, right? Defense for Green. I guess before we go to there, let's go with the kicker. Mason Crosby, the veteran for Green Bay, feels like he's been there for a long time, which he has. But is he someone that you're looking at? Oftentimes you say only one kicker in a game tonight where there's a lot of options that you can go with. Is Crosby, the one that you're leaning towards tonight, or with Robbie? I guess the one injury to note, Robbie Gould is out for tonight.
Yep, Robbie Solid Gould still out, so it's going to be I'm blanking on the kid's name now, but he's actually played for had more than a cup of coffee. Sorry, gonna Chase McLaughlin. So
McLaughlin.
they're very similarly priced on both sites, like 100 or $200 apart. So I said, because they're so closely priced, let your personal preference be your guide. The question comes down to, field goals are very fickle. I like to go with the veteran, but I'm leaning towards McLaughlin in this one. But to me, it doesn't matter, and I think the rest of your lineup construction can help you be guided that way. I was looking at one where I had quite a few 49ers, and I had the choice between the two, and I thought, you know what? I've got all these 49ers. If they get touchdowns, that's not going to help my kicker. I guess I should take the kicker from the other side, Crosby, and hope they get field goals, because you want to look for that little synergy there. Meaning if I have all the San Francisco touchdowns and there's 3 of them and no field goals, I get 3 points. If Crosby has 2 field goals, all of a sudden he's going to outscore the other guy handily. So that would be the kind of decision you'd want to make.
Yeah, I always look at these, like Robbie Gould has always been a great kicker. I think in large part it hasn't been because San Francisco has a top tier offense. It's because they move the ball. They have a good defense, which oftentimes puts them in good field position, gives them opportunities to score, but they're not putting up 40 points a game because they don't have the best offenses altogether. So it leaves them in a lot of opportunities to kick field goals. For me, I am on the McLaughlin train, and as far as the kickers go, I just feel like San Francisco has that offense where they're going to get it down there. Are they going to be able to punch it in, or do they leave themselves just a little bit short and end up taking the 3? So definitely it'll be a tight matchup tonight. Sticking on the Green Bay side to close it out. Green Bay's defense hasn't exactly been ferocious as far as scoring points in fantasy wise. How are you approaching them in tonight's matchup on the road?
So they get the discount to the 49ers, so I would prefer them over the 49ers just because of that. This is only a DraftKings decision, but just basically from that standpoint, I would go Green Bay. By far the better defense, of course, is San Francisco. That's no surprise. Gee, Emac, thanks for the hard-hitting analysis. But let's look at it this way. So here's the Green Bay thought. So because of their proclivity for running the football, San Francisco has limited the sack opportunities of their opponents. Though he has been sacked 2+ times in 6 of the last 7 games, it's only 17 total. So he's averaging about 2.5 sacks per game. That's Garoppolo. On the other hand, the 49ers do have 17 combined turnovers. That's the 11th most in the league. Green Bay is 5th in the league with 16 takeaways. They only have 25 sacks, so that's about the middle of the pack. So that's the middle of the pack for the pack. Nice work there. Now, on the other side, so I say Green Bay has allowed just 22 sacks of Rodgers this season. So that's in the bottom third. And they're only allowing 2 per game over their last 8. So for half the season and then some, they're allowing 2 per game. And they have 7 total turnovers. So they've played 10 or 11 games, and they have just 7 turnovers. That's not very much. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The 49ers are going to be good, but will there be opportunities for them to put points on the board? I don't know. That's what makes it tough. That's what has me going a little bit more towards Green Bay if I'm taking a defense.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's interesting to hear you say that. I think the average person would say, hey, looking at this San Francisco defense, gosh, they've been great. I mean, scoring a lot of points. Even when they've given up points, they've been able to kind of fill up the stat sheet quite a bit. But there is something a cost differential there. So interesting to hear your approach there, DMAC. Let's shift it to the San Francisco side of the ball. And I think this is the side of the ball like you can really dive deep into and spend a lot of time figuring out which direction you want to go, because there's so many options. And with some of the people being healthy or inactive today, as I see a lot of the comments flying through, it's a lot of different options out there for you. So, it starts with the quarterback. We'll start with Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, what is there to say about this guy? He's been a winner since he's come over from New England. There's no denying it. He's been good as of late. 2 of his last 3 games, EMAC, what you mentioned there in your article, was it 300 yards?
Yeah, 300
yards.
plus yards and 4 touchdowns. Sadly, though, they both came against Arizona.
Sadly enough, they did come against Arizona. Not exactly known for silencing opposing passing games. So yes, you can make that argument. Certainly, their receivers have dropped quite a bit of passes as well. I know I've watched multiple times where it's a critical third down. Garoppolo hits someone in the chest and boom, it bounces off and it ends up in a field goal or they have to punt. So I don't want to put it all on Jimmy G that he hasn't had the stats. He hasn't been lights out this season. It is nice to see him trending in the right direction, kind of coming together late in the season for the 49ers when it matters most. The weather does look nice out there, so at the very least you shouldn't have to worry about that. Like you had to worry about in New England tonight, earlier today. So in San Francisco does look nice. I like Garoppolo tonight. I saw there, if you didn't get a chance to look, I think he's projected to be, potentially the top scorer for some folks. I think a lot of people like him in the, even in the captain spot. So how are you approaching Garoppolo tonight? Is he, is someone you want to include, 50% of the time? Is he someone that you're trying to pair up, maybe him and Rodgers? How are you balancing your budget?
So you can get both of them in if you're going to go with the Jamal Williams, a Raheem Mostert, or a kicker or a defense. And I think if you work both of them in and you go with one of the cheap running backs, if you go with Mostert, then I'd try to get Devontae Adams if you can. It's going to be a bit of a stretch. May not get those guys as your captain, but it can all be on the same lineup. If you're going to go with Jamal Williams, then I think you might want to try to go for Tevin Coleman or potentially George Kittle would be the way I would work those if I was hand building. But I think I want both quarterbacks in this game, and that's something we haven't said on a lot of our shows together, Eric.
That's
but
right.
Tonight, I think we want both of them. And for me, it's a production consolidation thing, meaning I already know I'm going to have one running back from each side no matter what in most of my lineups. I'd like both quarterbacks. And then hopefully I get lucky and have a receiver land in the lineup that gets the touchdown if the quarterback gets the touchdown.
Emac, I'm right there with you. I'd love to be able to take a contrarian approach to what you're saying there, just for the sake of it. But in this game where it's tough to determine who is going to be that recipient of the passing touchdown, it just feels like you're just safer taking the QB in this case. So, how you balance your budget, where you slot them in, will be the determining factor. But I certainly like Garoppolo, and again, just for the sec, you got we'll jump into it now. The wide receivers for San Francisco, I'm unsure. Like I'm really unsure what to do. Sanders is playing, but he's been banged up. He's in and out of the lineup. When he does play, does he come out in the first quarter? Does he play through the rest of it? Like I don't feel confident. And these showdown slates, like the one thing you can't have is the guy that gets yanked out. Like it's an immediate loss, right? Like you're flushing, you're donating. So anytime I see those questionable tags, anytime I see somebody that's leading up to the game and hey, they got a barely limited participation or side session, I think twice. Now, it's certainly there's going to be times where you got to take that risk, depending on the talent or the player. But if there's other options out there, you got to consider it. So for San Francisco, there's a variety of options. Is Sanders your guy, or if you're looking at are you looking? Hey, I want to save a few dollars. Maybe it's Samuel. Samuel's been pretty consistent, or is it someone else? Are you going a little bit deeper on the wide receivers for San Fran?
It's really tough here. So if Sanders was fully healthy, he would be the guy, no questions asked. But he's played. Let me get to my notes here, and this is why I'm going to drop this in Slack again or in the YouTube chat again. This is a very helpful companion piece. We do it for all of the primetime shows, whether I'm on the show or not. We write up this article, but I try to call out things that'll help you out. So I said Deebo Samuel's dealing with sore shoulder. Emmanuel Sanders has rib issue. Both have been limited in practice, both expected to play on Sunday. Okay, they're both active. That's fine. I say I feel better about Samuel here, but having played 2 of his 3 highest snap percentages over the last 2 weeks at 83 and 79%. Kittle's been out, though, there as well. He does lead the team in targets outside of George Kittle, but he's well ahead of all of the receivers. The number 2 receiver is clearly Sanders, especially since he's been acquired, obviously. But he has played 47 and 30 snaps in the last 2 games. He does have 9 targets in those 2, but Samuels has 21. Kendrick Bourne is the other guy. He's scored in the last 3 games. That's not particularly helpful because one game he had 1 catch and it was for a touchdown. It was 3 games ago. And then the last 2 games he's had 14 targets, 8 for 73 and 2. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he's not helping us. And by the way, Sanders and Kittle are back. Bourne is priced now like he's a guy that scored touchdowns the last 3 weeks. And then you got Marquise Goodwin, all the speed in the world. He's a long jumper in the Olympics, but he's been dealing with his own injury. So it's one of those tough things where I don't really like any of them. So if they were healthy, for me it would be Kittle, it would be Sanders, and then it would be Samuel. Right now it's maybe Kittle, probably Samuel, and then I don't really want to play Emmanuel Sanders because he's been limited. It also means that it makes Garoppolo that more enticing because I don't know who the hell he's going to be throwing it to. He's spread it around to everybody. Outside of Kittles and Samuel, everybody else is just kind of, whoever's open gets it.
Yeah, it's
a mystery.
It's really hard to make that decision. You mentioned there, I think Bourne is the one interesting guy just because he's anytime you see a receiver getting targets in the red zone, that's critical. Now, yes, there's the Kittle factor. Like he is that red zone guy oftentimes for them. So is there a bit of, well, he got these because Kittle was out, or did he get those regardless and he's going to get them still? I don't know. It's hard to make that decision, I think, on tonight's game. So for me, it's I'm shying away. I'm kind of steering clear just because I'm unsure. I think Garoppolo's, the safer of the plays there, but Kittle, hey, he's a tough son of a gun. I know he's been ready to play, and I think leading well up into this week, they had planned on him playing. So this isn't like a last minute, he's testing it out before the game kind of thing. They knew that he was going to play today. So, I expect Kittle to be out there. I expect Kittle to have his typical game. But there's always that risk, so place your bets, cautiously, I guess. So moving on from that, it's the running back position. I think this is one of the really interesting spots for tonight. We touched on it a little bit, but it's the Coleman versus Mostert. I think a lot of people off the cuff, you'd say, all right, Matt Breida out tonight. If you guys don't know that, you should. Breida is out. The immediate default there would go, hey, Tevin Coleman, no brainer, right? But is that really the case? Coleman's expensive, and he hasn't exactly been lights out or dominating in touches. To your point, as far as snap shares and those sorts of things. So, is the juice worth the squeeze on Coleman for tonight's game?
So he is my number 1 ranked option. But I'm saying this because I think based upon, and I'll get up his percentages here. I thought based upon where I figured most people would have, I thought people would do their due diligence and realize he's only going to play 50 to 60% of the snaps. That's not great. However, he has, I think, 20 goal line or 20 red zone carries and 4 or 5 red zone targets. Next closest guy on the team is 16, and that's, I'm going off memory here, that's Jeff Wilson. I think Wilson has 3 since week 3. So it's really Coleman at this point. So he gets the high leverage snaps. What did he have? 3 or 4 touchdowns in one of those games, and then basically disappeared for the last 3 weeks if you're looking at his game logs. But let's see. So here on DK, we've got him checking in as 10% captain and 37% on the field. So I have him, again, I'm going to read this the top of my rankings page because people get pissy about this on Twitter. Single game ranking taking into account projected production, pricing, and popularity. If you want to see what the raw points totals are, go look at Alex's projections that he gives us. I'm trying to put it within the flavor of everything. So if you were going to make one lineup, I think my list would be kind of helpful to say, where do I rank these guys? Do I really think Jamal Williams is going to be the 5th highest scoring player in this? No, but his price certainly helps me get 3 of the other better guys. So he's up high on the list. Those are the things you got to look at. This week is the first time I've had the defenses both down at 10. Why do I have them both down at 10? Because the offenses don't cough up many opportunities for sacks or turnovers. So you got to think about how all of this works. I think when the Steelers were on, I think I had them as my number 3 overall play when they were going against Cincinnati, if memory serves. But so I move these things around, but just saying, you got to read the little words next to their names. So it says, with Matt Breida likely out, we will have to forget our never again declaration against Coleman that we have all uttered at some point in the last 3 weeks if we've rostered him. Please keep in mind he may only be in on 50 to 60% of the snaps, but he should be in on the leverage situations. Okay, that works for me. He's more expensive than everybody else, but if he's going to get first crack at it, I want that. You know who's right now my second most owned player? Raheem Mostert, because he's a fraction of the cost of Coleman, and he's going to get 40% of the snaps, and we've seen him do just fine. And I want to attack Green Bay again, as I said, with the running back. So I'd really like Coleman or Mostert on most of my lineups, if one of them on most of my lineup.
Yeah, Emac, it makes sense, right? It's you got to make those decisions on who might be the better of the two, or who might be the better of the two to enable you to get other pieces that you want. Those decisions you got to make before you hit the submit button tonight. So running back shot, certainly an interesting thing to look at, and we'll see where it goes tonight. Kyle Shanahan, he's not going to tip his hand one way or the other. Great play caller. Love what they're doing in San Francisco with utilizing the run. They have some weapons on the outside too, so it's probably worth diving a little bit deeper into that position. We got Sanders, Samuel. We talked about Bourne. If you're taking 2 wideouts tonight, are you taking 2 wideouts for San Francisco? Is there any lineup where you are?
No.
If you are, is it Sanders? Who's that second guy?
It would be on DK. Everybody's like, if I'm remembering correctly, FanDuel, everybody's 6,000. So where's that Green Bay? Hold on. So basically, I want Goodwin for the discount over the rest of them on DraftKings. On FanDuel, everybody's a pick'em. They're all 6,000. Scantling or Valdez-Scantling, Allison, and Kumaro. So just setting those guys aside, that's where I was getting jumbled in my mind. But I would take the discount for Marquise Goodwin at this point if I was going to have 2 in my lineup. If I was only having 1, I would try to make it be Deebo Samuel.
Okay. No love for Emmanuel Sanders tonight.
No, unfortunately. I mean, I don't like the rib injuries. I don't like him playing on less than half the snaps the last 2 games. It just comes down to that.
Too risky. And sure, what will end up happening is he'll probably play a full set of snaps and but no, he's been banged up. He hasn't been doing it. So trends not pointing in the right direction for Sanders. Great player, great addition for them too. By the way, it's really underrated acquisition. So it's a bit of a bummer that he is dinged up, because a healthy Emmanuel Sanders really, really helps this team. It gives them that outside presence that they didn't have the first half of the year. It gives someone to Garoppolo that he trusts outside of Kittle when defenses are targeting him. So on that note, segueing into the tight end position, Kittle back. We're off. We're all in for Kittle. Do we have any love for our old friend? No love for Dwelly tonight, Ross Dwelly?
No, I think we're going to wave off the Dwellmeister.
Dwelly's been good lately. Kittle, he's been dinged up, but he's playing. As we mentioned, they did expect him to play coming into this week. So is Kittle someone that you're very high on tonight, or is his injury kind of similar, scaring you away from him?
So with him, no. if he's in, he's healthy. The 49ers have zero reason to risk him. And it's something that I don't think they'd have him out there unless he was going to play full snaps. That's where I'm at on that one. And I have hesitation a little bit because, hey, he could get hurt, but gosh, so could just about everybody in the game.
Really, everybody. It's a football team. Yeah. So one player that I don't really know, I guess, where he would fall in line but a guy that had 7 receptions for San Francisco last week. He's not a wide receiver. You know who I'm referring to? Guess that 49er.
Kyle Juszczyk.
That's correct, Emac. Well done, sir. And great pronunciation, by the way. Where are you on him tonight? Like, you see, the guy had 7 receptions. Like, is he just fall off the map now that Kittle's back?
That was a career high 7 receptions. You need to say that correctly. And 7 targets. Yeah.
I guess the question is there something there? Do you think there's something there?
No, not with Kittle being out. Someone's asking me, is Goodwin out? Let me go look and see. Sorry. So no, not to me tonight for Juszczyk here. Just a guy.
Goodwin is out tonight.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I missed that one.
He'll be a healthy scratch for the second time this year.
Oh, that's weird. See, this is so I go to the I go to the NFL.com actives page. They don't even have Green Bay's inactives, and they don't have inactives for 49ers either. What a waste.
Hey, that's why you tune in here, guys.
Yeah.
You can get live.
We like to think that I'd have them too. Sorry. Thank you for setting me straight.
That's all right. But we know we got it. I'm glad we got that message, and I'm glad we got it straight. Hey, we got about 10 minutes until kickoff. So if you got Goodwin in, if you had him playing, like, that stuff happens all the time. It drives me nuts. NBA is like the absolute worst. I don't want to dive too far away.
So just reading them out real quick. Obviously, CJ Beathard, no. Gould, no. Breida, no. The Talio, no. Yes, Marquise Goodwin, that's a problem. Packers, Grant, Dexter Williams, Redmond, Holman, Pankey, Sternberg, no issues there. So it really is just Goodwin. But thank you for calling that one out. That's an important one.
That is.
And no, it doesn't mean I'm going to play Richie James. if that's the appropriate follow-up question, no.
I don't know if that
means Kendrick Bourne. Yeah, Kendrick Bourne gets a little bit of a boost from me not in the projections, but in the I don't feel quite as bad playing him category.
Yep. They're doing their picks now, leading up to the game. I think it's going to be a split. Like, this is like a 50-149 game. Like, this is going to be a really tough game. I'm really excited for tonight's matchup. Again, both teams have high aspirations. Both fan bases are excited. And hey, San Francisco, like, they got to show up. Last time they hosted, like, they had a big game against your Seattle Seahawks, they lost. So, like, this is like, hey, San Francisco, if you want to be considered or, be taken serious as a real contender in this NFC, these are the games you got to win. You got to win these games at home against another tough team. So I'm sure it'll be a rowdy crowd tonight in San Francisco. Looking forward to it. So less than 10 minutes left here until kickoff. Let's just kind of finish the 49ers. We got the Goodwin news in, got that taken care of. He's the healthy scratch. We talked about Juszczyk. Emac, you're not loving Juszczyk with Kittle being back. The kicker, hey, this is a position of value. Like, these guys are, they're on the 10-point spot. McLaughlin in for Gold tonight. He's been pretty good. This guy isn't just like some schlub off the street that, they're not going to kick a field goal if they're within range. Like, they're going to give him a chance. I like McLaughlin tonight. Hey, anybody that's kicking at home, I think they tend to have the advantage a little bit. Is that your approach for McLaughlin tonight?
Yes. It just kind of comes down to that. truthfully, and their prices are just so interchangeable. I would not fight anybody over that, but I'm leaning towards McLaughlin if I had to.
Okay.
With the one exception of where I was talking about kind of doing the 49ers onslaught. In that case, I would go with Crosby, just because I want, what's better extra. It's going to take 3 extra points, and if I'm getting the touchdowns, I'm not getting the extra point, or I don't care about the extra points. I'm not getting field goals. I want the field goals. Therefore, I would go with Crosby in that particular scenario.
So to wrap the defense for the Niners, this defense has been good, like really good. There's no denying it. No matter who they're playing against, they've been tough. So as you're looking at, you mentioned Green Bay was the defense that you were a little bit higher on. Was that just cost and kind of circumstance? Because this defense is averaging like almost 14 fantasy points a game. It's incredible.
We only have so much salary cap to go around.
We do. On that note, EMAC, we only got about 7 minutes until lock. So if you're ready, we can maybe reveal our.
I'm still building my lineup.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to get to a screen that's going to enable me to do this easily and still get. Okay, we've got 7 minutes. All right. So I will. I need to see what my placeholder lineup is, because I can't remember if I had good one in it or not. So, un momento. It's going to take a moment to load here.
Okay. All right. We got about 6 minutes. We have 6 minutes until kickoff tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is an interesting matchup as well. Hey, who doesn't love to see Lamar Jackson in prime time, the MVP candidate, on the road in LA, taking on the Rams. Rams coming off of a win against my beloved Chicago Bears last week. They didn't exactly look stellar, but this Rams team, they've shown the ability to turn it on. I know they're going to welcome the return of Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the ball, but an exciting game nonetheless. So you guys make sure you tune in tomorrow night to check out Live Before Locks as we break down again, the Baltimore Ravens heading out to LA to take on the Rams.
I did have Goodwin in my lineup, by the way. So I'm tweaking my main lineup now.
Okay. EMAC, I trust that this wasn't like you wanted to hear what I had to say about the whole team, the both teams, and now that you've heard it, you're going to say, "Hey, Eric's won 2 in a row. There must be something in this awesome." I wanted to hear what he had to say today. No, I'm just kidding. Any questions you guys got for us? Throw them in there. I think the one thing that I'll kind of start as EMAC as you're finishing yours. I don't want to get into it too much, but as I was looking at mine, like the one thing that I couldn't get away from was like I just don't trust any of those receiving options on the San Francisco side of the ball enough.
All right, I've got mine in officially now. I won't change it.
All right. Kittle, Sanders, or Samuel? EMAC, pick one.
Kittle, Samuel, Sanders would be the order.
So you got Kittle number 1, Samuel. I'm probably there with you. I'd probably go with Kittle, and then Samuel right behind him. But let's get into it. We got about 4 minutes until kickoff. I'm looking to go 3 in a row, baby. EMAC, I might have to start writing the articles on Sunday. I'm just kidding.
You're more than welcome to.
Nobody wants that.
Those are a labor of love. Why do you think I've ended up with them?
I'm just the host. All right, I'll lead off. All right. Hey, T-Box is mine, I guess, as they say if we were golfing. In Chicago, we're not playing golf. I played in a simulator. That was as close as I got to playing around a golf this week. I'm going to play a little bit different to what some of the things that I think that you might do, but I think we're going to have a lot of similar players. So in my captain spot, again, we're doing a little $2 DraftKings head-to-head each week, EMAC and I got Aaron Jones. He's expensive, yes, but this guy's been so consistent that it was worth it to me. Last week, EMAC in our contest, what won it for me was Todd Gurley in that captain spot. So when you got a guy that is going to be getting a number of carries, he's going to get the ball in the passing game. Hey, the San Francisco defense is tough. They are a little bit banged up. I do like Aaron Jones, so I had to balance that out a little bit, but I was able to get a lot of the big names still. So I went with Jones in the captain spot. Rounding it out for San Francisco, I did get Devontae Adams and I did get Aaron Rodgers. So I'm excited about that. I got the three key players. Emac, I can see you changing the names as on your roster.
We've only got one common player. I think one common player so far.
All right, I got Jones, Adams, and Rodgers, and then I got Garoppolo because, as I said, I don't feel confident in these receiving options. I think they're great, but Garoppolo is going to be the one throwing it to him. So there you have it. And then just because of the cost saving, I went with Mostert instead of Coleman. But that left me with nothing. So I really had to make the decision on it was like Juszczyk or Dante Pettis, who hasn't seen a target since week 2. So I went with my man Juszczyk.
I almost ended up with him. I went away from him.
Hey, 7 targets last week. And if it's the Kittle factor, who knows? Kittle might not play a full set of snaps this week. I would not be even if Juszczyk just gets me 2 catches, maybe one of them gets in the end zone, right? So that's what I went with. I was able to get Jones, Adams, Rodgers for Green Bay, who I do like to win the game tonight, by the way, even though I don't like Green Bay and it pains me to say it. Haven't seen San Francisco lose to Seattle. Green Bay's a tough team. I do like them on the road tonight. So that went with Mostert, Garoppolo, and Juszczyk. So that's where I'm at, Emac.
All right, here's mine. Unfortunately that Goodwin news took me off of Coleman. Coleman was going to be my captain. He is now not on my roster, unfortunately. It's what happens when you're doing a show. I have Raheem Mostert as my captain. Okay, so I've had to just flip. I had to flip Coleman out. I needed the cash. I have Rodgers, Garoppolo. Kittle is now in my lineup. So it was basically a Coleman and a Goodwin for Kittle and Mostert. And then I've got Deebo Samuels and I've got Jamal Williams. So
okay.
Everything I said I was going on, with the exception of, and I would have figured out how to keep Coleman in there if I had more than 3 minutes to do this and then hit crunch on the rest of my lineups. But there we are. So let's look and see. What I do want to say, I do like Coleman tonight. Yes, he is only playing half the snaps. Tevin Coleman ended up 14% of my captain spot, and he ended up at 42% of my roster. So he is on just over half of my total roster. So I think that is a stand that's going to be a little above the field. A couple percentage at captain, and then a couple percentage at in the main body. But I'm coming into it knowing 60% of the snaps is his ceiling. So
as long as you know what expectations are set, you can't be disappointed then when I beat you next week. So
no, not at all.
I'm just kidding. I'm talking crap, and I'm probably going to get smacked and not win another game here the rest of the year. But hey, that's what fantasy is about. You got to enjoy it while you have it. Strike while the iron's hot.
Exactly. I had to drop in the Super Draft link there. A little remiss. We didn't mention that enough. But they are running. And by the way, so sign up, come in on our link, use the promo code AWESOMO. If you put in $100, they'll give you $20 immediately that you can use in their contest. So that's what I've been put in my $100. I'm played a few contests. I'm still on their $20. But they keep sending me every other day or so emails to let me know that I'm in an NBA free roll if I want to be in. And the unique thing about what they're doing here at Super Draft is you've got to fill out their position requirements. They're relatively relaxed, but you can play any player because there is no salary cap. Well, how can you play any player? We're all going to have the same lineup. It's all going to be all-stars. But no, they actually have multipliers. So the better the player is, the lower their multiplier. So if it's a really good player, their multiplier is 1. So Christian McCaffrey is the guy I keep using. He's 1. Tevin Coleman, probably 1.8. Which would you rather play? McCaffrey at 1 or Coleman at 1.8. Okay, maybe you actually would want McCaffrey. Some guys have a 2 multiplier, etc. So that's how you can move at the different positions, and that's how you justify taking the different players. The best part, we've got projections for this at Osimo, and they feed right into Fantasy Cruncher. So it helps you optimize. It helps you, and I haven't mass multi. I've done one entry into these contests. I want to get a feel for it. I want to figure out what's going on. So I've been using Fantasy Cruncher just to say, oh gosh, I would have never picked that guy, but he actually clearly grades out better than everybody else. I would have missed it because there are so many choices and they all have slightly different multipliers, and it's a different way of thinking about it. So it's a lot of fun. Their contest today, their NFL contest today went off about 20% empty. They're planning on using Overlay through basketball as their marketing tool. So they're trying to make their contest big enough that they don't completely fill from that standpoint. So it's not a bad way to go.
Well, cool. I think that that about brings us to kickoff. Kickoff just happened. Green Bay is in the huddle. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I think it was it should be a good game tonight. Again, Emac, who do you like? You like Green Bay? You like San Francisco?
I like Green Bay. Let's see the prodigal son return. I think it's going to be hard fought. I think 23-20 feels like a good score for this one.
All right. Yeah, I unfortunately I do like Green Bay. Again, it pains me to say it. I'll be rooting for San Francisco, no denying that. Do not question my fanhood. But yeah, I think Green Bay, I think a 24-17, something like that does seem right. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week again. Join us again tomorrow night for Live Before Locks for that Ravens-Rams game. Emac, good luck tonight, sir.
All right, that sounds good. So we're getting on out of here. So with that, gamers, good luck.